going to be our 83rd episode, and I think around 15 to 20 of those have been Liverpool people. So, of course, a multimedia specialist, has done a lot of work around football, and she has also mentioned that she is doing research around football culture, which is something. Hello and welcome everyone to episode number 83 at the Indie Football Podcast. And as you might have observed over the last few episodes, we have had people from different places, different teams. And today we have got another such special person because we found her on our Instagram while going through different football personalities. Hi, Grace. How are you doing?
I am fine, guys. I hope you are doing well as well.
Yeah, Grace here is a multimedia specialist, has done a lot of work around football, and she has also mentioned that she is doing research around football culture, which is something that we also try to decode here in India. And of course, while India and UK are two completely different markets when it comes to football, it's just nice to have Anukar sir. It's just nice to have more Liverpool people in the podcast.
Yeah, it's exciting to come together because football is it's amazing, like the heritage towards everything, but there's so many differences in it, but we all come together as one.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Even I feel that, clubs really unite people, fans from all over the world. It doesn't matter from which city you are from, which country you are from, which ethnicity you are from. When you support a club, you are all in the same. And, that's, I think, I love how football or sport unifies people of across different stratas for that matter. And again, Grace, welcome to the Indie Football Podcast. Me and Dwaipayan, we have had a lot of conversations about having you on the pod for quite some time, and we are excited to do this episode.
Yeah.
Because we have had some Liverpool FC related guests, I would like to point out that previously we have had Peter Moore, who was former CEO at Liverpool. We had James Pearce, Paul Gost, people who have worked at the Liverpool Echo. We are gonna hopefully have Adam Lallana soon, because like he's going through a busy schedule, but he did say that he might come on the podcast too. So yeah, for Liverpool fans, we have had some thing we can gloat about, and having you on board is something which is like an iceberg on the top of the cake, icing on the top of the cake. Sorry. So yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no worries. Ask your questions away, anything that you want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Grace, as soon as we had spoken on our Instagram DMs, and I did go through your work, and you have like done a variety of work so far. Something that has struck me is your visit to Inter Miami. Can you tell us more about that visit? I mean, the entire Inter Miami CF posts that you had done, and how exciting was it to, cover Messi and USA football in general, because that's an area where the sport is still trying to grow, and of course Messi going there has provided a huge boost in that direction.
Yeah, so Miami was honestly the best opportunity that I've ever realised. And I'm only 20 years old, I'm 21 next week, but it is such a highlight already that I've been able to travel all the way to Miami, and I was there for nearly 3 weeks working. So what happened was I am part of the Steven Gerrard Academy. I'm an ambassador for them. So as a woman in football, my job is to enhance women getting into football, and it's been so good over the past couple of months getting women in and seeing the dramatic change basically. So in November I got a call off my mentor, Thomas, which is he's such a amazing person, guides me through like my whole journalism, education, and he said we would love to take you to Miami. We want to pick you for Miami to go and do the media over there. There's going to be set conference days. You get to do everything over there and also see the culture and yeah, have the best experience. So I remember hearing that call and I was like, oh my God, like Miami, like that's absolutely crazy to me. And all paid for trip, and I was so grateful. So I ended up going in the February, really expecting nothing of it, and miracles happened over there. I ended up connecting with Thomas Rongan. I don't know if you have heard of him, but anyway, he's a big coach. He
Yeah.
used to coach alongside Johan Cruyff. And then he went to American Samoa and turned the team around like Jurgen Klopp in a sense. That's how I see him. But it's a Netflix movie, Next Goal Wins, and that was on the plane going, and the coincidence to see if I could connect, and he ended up reaching out, which is so good. And seeing Messi and Suarez, they were right in front of you. We were on the Hard Rock Terrace that just opened, that David Beckham I put together, and they were literally like seats away. It's just absolutely crazy. But over there we had 3 conference days with Global Institution of Sport, so they are like they have a force field in Abu Dhabi, a lot of places in America. UK is a base where they're doing Wembley. So, yeah, doing the filming and also hosting the days and introducing these amazing people. God, I spoke to directors that worked alongside David Beckham and interviewed them, and coaches that I work for the first team. And what's so great is that uh, I got to interview a lot of academy lads into Miami under 19s. Dylan Martinez, what a really good interview that I did, and ended up
Wow.
publishing it. And anyway, the other week he played for the first team alongside Messi and Suarez, and it's just amazing. Like, this whole career and journalism is that I don't feel like I'm working. I enjoy every step. I enjoy meeting people, but Miami was just, oh, it was a dream, and I got to connect with so many people, and I'm going to be doing work out there quite a lot now, so it's good to have that connection. And yeah, it was a really beautiful place, and the football heritage over there is, it's very Hispanic. You've got Mexicans, you've got Argentinians, you've got Cubans, all of these people. So it's great to see them all come together. And when we were in the fan zone, they were all having barbecues, and it was just such an amazing Spanish culture, and it was so good to be part of.
That's lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anukar sir, we have had many Liverpool people, but being part of Gerrard's academy, I think it's a first that we have had someone from that academy, right?
Yeah, I think I would like to tell you a bit of a trivia here, Grace. The first episode that we did on the Indie Football podcast was about my fandom for Liverpool. That time we did not have a guest. We started having special guests from the sixth episode. Now it's the 83rd, sixth or
Yes.
seventh, if I'm not wrong. So, thing is that the first episode, I think 60% of it was my fandom for Steven Gerrard, and talking about what he did, how he made, how he could just walk on water and all that stuff. So I mean, as soon as you mentioned it, I think my pupils dilated, everything sparkled, because at the end of the day, I know how much of an effect Steven Gerrard had in my life, for that matter. I think I remember back in when I was in like fourth or fifth standard here in India, which is like part of somewhere around middle school, you can say.
Yeah.
I remember my teacher told me to write an essay on your hero, and within 5 minutes, I had written a five-page essay on Steven Gerrard, and then she told us to change the topic. So, I mean, I remember, how much of a hero he was, how much he contributed to my life. So, tell us a bit about that. Tell us a bit about working at the Steven Gerrard Foundation, your experience there, what you guys do there, and at the end, do tell me how you can connect me to Steven Gerrard. Just
Yeah, so Steven Gerrard has always been a big figure for me.
of
My
course.
first ever game was in Istanbul in 2005, a big one. I was only 2 years old, but my dad ended up taking me, so that's great for me. Obviously, I don't remember it, but growing up in them years and being part of football, it was my brother and my dad, and he took me to games home and away and internationally, and I was so amazing. But one struck out to me is that Steven Gerrard, a young strapping lad, and he could just fire a ball. And quite a lot in the squad. I see McAllister did a Steven Gerrard goal last season. Harvey Elliott did. It's like these elements in him, so it really is good to see it in the current squad. But you'd see Steven Gerrard and the way he angled the ball, and it to go in like that, it's just incredible. But
Yeah,
I just wish he won more because he really deserved. As soon as we got beat
absolutely.
by Stoke 6-1, it was quite upsetting that he was going to leave and he never got to experience the Jurgen Klopp era. But to be part of the Steven Gerrard Academy, it's it's so unbelievable. Like they started a media program last September, so we were like the first ones in it, and we've got like so many opportunities, and that's how much I've connected with people and how much I've done my freelance work for Spirit of Shankly, work alongside Trent Academy, the foundation, Liverpool itself, Liverpool Echo. Like you have all these paths that you do go down, but also as well the people. And we have coaches that have worked. Danny Harrison, he used to be a football player in the past, and then we had coaches from Liverpool. So it is great to be a part of it. I've gone to away games to different places like Sheffield with the girls team and and the young lads team in the clubs, and it's always good to see the young people, especially girls, because I used to play football growing up, and in my generation, in my era, girls football wasn't ever a big thing. I would be in a team, be 11 of us, and three of them would be girls and the rest would be lads. So it's nice to have that, balance when you come in, and to be part of it, and just to say that, like, you've got a badge on your chest that's got Steven Gerrard. It's incredible, and I absolutely have had the best opportunities. I was meant to go Finland last week, but I had so much work on with Jürgen leaving and Arnie Stock coming in, and the Spirit of Shankly stuff. But it's it really is like exciting, and I have done such amazing stuff.
One thing, Grace, that I wanted to share is you mentioned Global Institute of Sport, and I did actually go to their UK campus last year
Yeah.
as part of my,
Wow.
yeah, as part of my international study trip. So I have done my masters in sports management from a college in Mumbai, which is
Yeah.
the financial capital of India, and also has most sports diversity after a lot of football fame in the northeast part of India. So
Yeah.
this college where I was a part of had affiliations with the Premier League, and as I mentioned, some other sports institutions like the GIS. So note, something that would make sense to share here is the first day when we had gone to those shores, we were briefed for a assignment, a presentation that all of us had to make for a local football foundation, and how they can do more to increase engagement for the community around that particular football foundation. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's the Jason Roberts Football Foundation. uh,
Yeah. It's about.
yeah, it is close to the Wembley, and the GIS, the GIS campus. We could really, as we presented to our professors over there, right in the backdrop there was the Wembley Arc, and it was quite iconic, especially for people like us who had gone from this country, who had only heard about FA Cup finals and all the uh iconic relations attached to that venue. I think it was great. And in fact, the name of my college was GISB. The GIS full form remains the Global Institute of Sports Business. So just the B gets added to the college that I was in. uh, and another thing that I wanted to ask you, Grace, is that you mentioned Liverpool Echo, and I thought Anukarsh sir at some point would mention that we had people coming over from Liverpool Echo. We had James Pierce, and I think we had someone else as well. But
Paul
uh,
Ghost, Paul Ghost, Paul
yeah,
Ghost.
yeah, Paul Ghost, as
Uh,
he was one of our more recent guests. So as a journalist covering football, covering Liverpool, covering the Steven Gerrard Academy and the entire experience that you mentioned, do you think Liverpool Echo and places like that is what you aspire to be in the next 2 to 3 years, or you are more like, I will go with the flow, whatever comes around, I will take it around.
Yeah,
Just before you answer this question, I'm sure Paul won't come for the appearance in the podcast if he
I mean,
listens to what you said. But yeah, please
yeah,
continue. Yeah.
no, you'll be all right with it. Yeah, so that's quite an interesting question because I think I'm at that point in life now where I need to find my niche. Because I love writing. I've wrote a few articles for the Liverpool Echo and This Is Anfield and a lot of places like that. Um, and I love also producing. So I've got like a lot of videos that are coming very soon. I think the main goal of it though is that when I was out in Miami, I was interviewing every single person that I come across. And
yeah,
it's so fascinating to get to interview people like what you are doing now, to get to know people, to hear
yeah,
their stories. And I feel like I would love to do that as a job, even if it was football, any other sports in general. But I am quite open in a sense. I do websites freelance a lot, but sometimes they can be the bane of my life, guys. Because websites are quite like start to finish, if that makes sense. You've got to go through all these steps and also do like the campaigning and the marketing side of it. But I've had so many opportunities where I would say the most exciting thing that I've done is interviewing and presenting and hosting. I love writing articles, but the writing scene is so sadly kind of, what's the word? Um, a lot
it's
of
being
young people don't read now. Yeah, there's a lot of people want to see a lot of visual stuff, so they would rather listen to a podcast and watch one or watch something on TikTok. But I'm like quite back in the day, like I'd rather read something and get the knowledge off that because that's going to be, if it's researched well, it's going to give you the right answers. But yeah, it's we're going to see where I am in 5 years. I can't wait to look back on this podcast and go, oh my God, let's see where I am. But yeah, I'm so grateful to be in the position where I am, like meeting people's families, like meeting Trent's family and meeting Shankly's family. Like it's just like normal people. It's great.
Anuka sir, I hope I'm sure you will remember the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago when we were mentioning about our plans ahead for the month. And you mentioned how I think it was Pushkar, one of our former guests, who mentioned how content writing is like really really going dead. So that's a challenge that all of us, and I think something that is common for all three of us, is the love to ask questions, the love to know more about people, but sadly documenting them in written form might or might not receive the response that it may have received 10 years ago. So
Mhm.
definitely the landscape is changing a bit, right, Anukar sir?
Absolutely. I think what we don't really admire a lot at this point of time, especially with the AI tools, ChatGPT and all
Yeah.
coming in, is the authenticity in uh, writing also and reading also. I think one thing I would like to point out from Dwaipayan's trip to the UK was he brought me this book. Uh, I
uh,
always keep it near me, even when I'm reading or I'm not reading it, bring the noise. So
yes.
the thing is, this book is always a lot closer than any other gift someone has ever given to me. Because whenever I am not in the best moment of my life and I read a chapter from it, so I think I've almost finished it by now. And the reason is that reading something like that, I think it has a different sort of effect. Uh, which I don't think, say, an artificial intelligence generated article can give you. And of
Yeah.
course, the content writing scene relatively is a lot more saturated, even in India. Like, I think it was much well paying around 2 3 till 2 3 years back here in India. I myself, for the past 1.5, have been working in industries close to artificial intelligence and all in other industries, because it's a lot more saturated. You don't want to get into rat races all the time. But I think at the end of the day, I think storytellers do kind of, uh, have a class of their own. They still carve a niche of their own. And I think writers like you, like I think as you told about the trip to Miami, I think people who have the quality call it Darwin's theory, and I don't mean Darwin Nunez when I say it, but they will always stand out, I think. And how people recognized your work, and you went to Miami for that matter. And I think as you talked about looking back at this podcast 5 years down the line, I think me and Dwaipayan also, when we look back at our first episode 2.5 years down the line, talking about Steven Gerrard, and now we have people from the Steven Gerrard Foundation running this podcast every day through its bits and pieces, having our own good and bad things happening in our personal and professional lives, how we have dealt through, how me and Doipan have stuck together as a team, also
Yeah,
taking care of the team that we have. It's his birthday also tomorrow. So I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that so much has happened and so much good has happened. And I'm sure the next 5 years for you and for all three of us are going to be something we can all look back at with a smile, I'm sure. Because uh, I think that's the best part of this podcast, that we get to talk about stories more
yeah,
than the football on the pitch. Of course, we love to talk about football also.
Yeah,
I have ranted quite a number of times how this is not working, that is not working, how this is working well, why are you criticizing that? But
yeah,
at the end of the day, I think it's more about the conversation and the stories that we come through it, and it's stories like yours that inspire us also. Like at such a tender age, when you are able to manage all of this, I think it's a very big deal, and kudos to you for this. And yeah, one thing I want to say is that since you talked about women being in sports, me and Doipan have also felt this for quite some time. In fact, we have just signed our first official partnership with the Her Game 2 campaign. I'm sure you might have some idea about it. They have
yeah,
partnership with Liverpool FC and Everton also. We
amazing.
are the we are the first organization, or the first sort of company in India to be the Indian arm for the Her Game 2 campaign, because we strongly believe in that. And I think that women's sports, even the game of women's football, is something really good. I think it has a lot more finesse.
yeah.
For you, Grace, for someone who has been advocating for women being in sports, how do you think the landscape has changed, and how do you think it can improve in the future? What steps should be taken in that way?
Yeah, very good question. So when I talk about women in sport, I really used to just push it under the carpet because I thought it's never going to change. It's always going to be such a male dominant sport. And when I was playing, so I used to play for like loads of teams. I was a little left winger. Like honestly, I was dead fast, and but I had an injury, so I was never able to come back from it basically. And I
Uh,
think that's what it's like with women's football, is that we've got to emphasize that we know the game when we shouldn't. We should be able to not get judged by that way. We've got to know that, does she know her stats? Does she know what happened? Does she highlight this? Because what's so sad is that it still is quite like when I walk into like a press conference, or when you see a few women that are really good, that have done on top, like Melissa Reddy is someone that I look up to quite a lot. Laura Woods, these are really great women that do know the stuff, and that's what it is. There is challenges in a sense that who's going to get the job more over than a man or a woman. But what's so exciting now is that if you look at jobs that happens and stuff, they want women presenters in. So I did hosting for Women Who Lead. I'm doing something with the foundation for the Women Empowerment Day. So it's so exciting to have our own days and be a part of that. And I think in the future it is going to get better for us. I can see there's more attendances of going to the games, got the Euros with the England team with the women. They built up platforms. Some of them have got podcasts, some of them have got partnerships. And bearing in mind they're not paid as much as the men, so they've got to do that extra bit, which is so empowering for a woman to do. But also as well as you've, I think what they say in a sense with a woman, you've got to think about um obviously with going the games, you really need to know your history, That's what I always grew up with football from start to finish. And I am a general football fan. I love just watching football in general wherever I am. If I'm on holiday, I'll go on and watch a football game because I think football's like a religion. You know, you have your
Right.
up and downs, but
Absolutely.
you follow it religiously and the traditions that you have, and that's what is a lot like religion. Um, but yeah, I'd say with women's football, it is growing. I just hope that there's more investment in it. There's more awareness of us because we just want to have the same as the men. We just want the same opportunities, and that's what is really exciting now that people are getting the chance to do that.
Absolutely, Grace. There's you mentioned a point about history, traditions, and I would like to share about how when we first started this podcast. And I'm sorry, I am also watching the Portugal game because Ronaldo is playing for Portugal,
I
right?
can see it in
And
your glasses.
that's and that's also something that I'd like to ask you about later on. You mentioned about history, tradition, and I've told this story many times, and I'll probably reiterate it once again. So I started following football relatively very late. I had started following it during the COVID times because I'm a big sports buff, and before that, I was largely only following cricket, which is the biggest sport here in India. And as you mentioned, the reason why I got hooked onto football very quickly was because of what I read around it. And
Yeah,
to put it very simply, at that time, consider someone having no context of watching football before. I would switch on a Liverpool versus Tottenham game in April 20, I think it started in June, yeah, in June 2020. And for me, it was like if the right winger of Tottenham scores a goal, something would happen for the first time in 38 years. And
yeah,
that is something that would serve as motivation or curiosity, or just something that it created a sense of it created a sense of FOMO, basically. I don't want to miss out on this. And that's how I started knowing football a bit better. One question I'd like to ask you about is and I've had this conversation with my father as well when I was younger. Uh, I, I i can't believe being at 24 I'm talking about when I was younger and what I did, but but so and there was a time in my life, and of course I and Anukar sir met in dental school. After that I dropped out and I went more towards sports, and at that time I used to speak to my father about how I want to become a sports journalist here there. So he mentioned he had once told me about that what's the most important role of a journalist in any field, sports, whatever is that person's beat. It's to uncover the truth, basically. You need to go do the groundwork, you need to go to places where people usually don't, gather insights that people usually don't notice, and then put it out to the world, where the world really comes to know something that they did not know. So for you, within the realm of journalism, within the realm of following sports, and I have seen your profile, you have gone to different places. There was a picture in Hungary and whatnot. uh, so do you have a specific way of covering sports? Like when you go to venues, do you observe the players a lot? You mentioned that you like conversing with people. You ask in Miami, you interviewed literally anyone whom you met. So is there a specific way of how you like to do your things, or again you're like a person who goes with the flow a bit, and you will see something and then decide to uh, dig deeper into it?
yeah. It's a very good question. So with me, I lost a lot of confidence last year. I really did. I was going through quite a, I don't know, I didn't really believe that I could do this anymore in a sense. And not because anyone knocked me down, it's just because I didn't get myself out there. I was just winging it every day and just not making myself a profile. So like with Twitter, I went off that for like years. Because it just didn't, it was just another social media that was to post on. Like, it wasn't really something big for me. But now I realise in this job you do need to build up a profile, a name, a trustworthy person, someone knows that you're talking about. But what I always say to people is that create your opportunities. What you're doing now, building your own podcast, I've done that before, and it just makes you, like, with me coming on today, I might need help with yous in other projects. So what I always say is that whoever you bump into, whoever you speak to, you could work with them in the future. So just make sure you're presentable, not rude, and give that good impression. That's what I always say. But also as well, so my whole story is that started off with websites. That was my big thing, in a sense that it wasn't meant to be a big thing. My best friend called me on a Sunday morning and went, I've got a launch that I want to do with me shop. And bearing in mind, she's got quite a big following as well. She went, can you use Shopify? I was like, oh, I don't know if I can use it, but I can try my best and see what happens. So anyway, we spent work and time in the office. We turned over it in a week's time, and it looked fantastic. The website and the engagement and what she's done, it is absolutely amazing. From that, like, bearing in mind that was just something to do with my mates in charge, not, and she was just my best mate. She helped me out with some holiday bits, and I was made up. So that's it. And then my contact number got sent about a website. Oh, can you do my website? Can you do mine? Can you do mine? So that's when people see your work, and you see that it's at a professional level that they really want you to pursue. And then along with this journey, I've been learning how to make different websites stand out, what the engagement. So it's been such a learning curve for me. But honest to God, like, in a couple of months, I've done nearly over 10 websites now, which is amazing. The writing side of things, I learned about sports writing from when I was younger. I used to, in school, write about football fanzines. My dad wrote Red all, sorry, Through the Wind and the Rain, Red All Over the Land, John Perman. But my dad wrote the first ever fanzine for Liverpool with Steve Kelly. So he used to write articles. So I've always been around that, writing little bits. And I remember in media, I got a nice star for writing all me stories on what miracle games and how football miracles, and touching on more heritage stuff and all stuff like that. So my writings spiral from going to a press conference. I got to interview Sean Dyche, did an article about it, going to all these events, and then also as well in my head, I know Arnie Slot's coming. I come down and think, what we need to do. He's coming in a couple of weeks. I need to write a whole analysis on him. So from start to finish, I went, I'll pick out 3 good games on where he's got good results, and 3 like games where he's had challenges, and we reflect on that. I've spoke to final journalists, and because they're first hand, they've been seeing him week in and week out, and would he be a good fit for Liverpool? So you do just get in contact. And I always say for journalists, get LinkedIn. Like, honest to God, LinkedIn and Twitter, to build up your platform on there. It's so reliable. It really is. You're not going to come across a fake profile, are you? Because you've got to be, all legit. But also as well, if I'm in a different time zone, wherever in the world, someone can get back to me and let me know if they want to be part of something. You can connect with people about job opportunities, and that's what's so exciting. And when it comes to interviewing, been doing that for ages as well. Started off with Peter Carney, who did the flags and the cop, to people like owners of Redmen TV, Paul Machin. Yeah, a lot. I did a little interview with Adam Lallana and stuff like that. So it is, they are really exciting stuff that I have done. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and podcasting, which is another thing, is that's a big thing now in sports. But how to sign all this off is you've just got to get yourself out there. You've got to make yourself a name and make sure that your work is professional standards. The more that you improve, the more that you write down, but also build a portfolio, because you can send that off to a job, and they'll want you because you've got all this evidence. If you don't have evidence, it's so sadly that they're not going to employ you because it's with this job you've got to show all your practical work.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
love how the mention of Adam Lalana got a smile to Anukar's face. And Anukar sir, with all the website plans and ideas that we have in place, and given how much website work Grace has done, we might as well consult
yeah.
her when we
Please
finally
help
try to
us.
meet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The first, as soon as she mentioned it, I think I had it in my mind that, it is like I'll try it in the best of my capacity if we can, because I think, especially with someone who is so much into football, who has such a good idea about the industry, I think it always helps, rather than when you give someone who is more into just creating websites but doesn't have a footballing perspective. Because
Yeah,
I think, with Grace, wherever she has worked with, I think she definitely, I think, I'm very inspired, to very honest, about whatever you were telling, Grace, especially at such a tender age. I
yeah,
myself am 24. Dwaipayan is going to be 24 tomorrow, if I'm not
yes,
wrong. And
yes,
thing is that, I think it's a lot to learn, because often it happens that, we are very much about that certain things are not working out, here, and we blame the external factors, but sometimes it's all about us, working that 1% extra, or like, putting in that grit, which is very much lacking overall in a lot of people. So I think it's very inspiring what you're doing. And I really like how, your story of journalism, other than the stories that you actually put out, is a story of its own. How,
yeah.
you have been able to go through all the challenges as journalists and all. It's wonderful. Before we end this episode, I just want to ask a concluding question, and of course, Doipan can also ask if he wants. Who do you think, at Liverpool, is gonna be the standout player with Arne Slot, and who would you like to see as the dream signing, at Liverpool? And yeah, one last thing: do you have any club insights, if you would like to tell us about it?
Yeah, so that really, really good questions. Wow, yeah, next season is around the corner. You don't even realise it. Like, to be honest with you, it's been quite boring with how I know the Euros are on and that, but it's not like Liverpool FC. Like, Liverpool FC is special to watch. Arnie Slot, I feel he is really going to connect with the young players. I want to see a lot of the young players come through. Jason Danns, Connor Bradley, Ben Zoak, all of them made a
James
difference this
McConnell,
season.
James McConnell,
Yeah, James
and
McConnell.
yeah,
Yeah, and I spoke to Lee Clark, Bobby Clark's son. So it's really inspiring to see the younger players because Premier League football now, you look at Arsenal's team, a lot of them are very young and dynamic, and
hmm,
that's what Liverpool are growing. Jurgen Klopp was in the middle of another rebuild because we lost Divock Origi, Sadio Mane, all these really key players that made us win the league and the Champions League. He tried so hard, and the first ever press conference he said, "I will win in 4 years' time," and that's what ended up happening. It's really
yeah,
bizarre prediction, but now we've bought players like Darwin Nunes and Diego Jota and Luis Diaz and Cody
yeah,
Gakpo. So you've
yeah,
got to look at them as the forwards. You've got Mohamed Salah. Ever since joining Liverpool, he has been top goal scorer. I would never dream of trying to sell him to
absolutely.
Saudi Arabia, and I don't think the money is there anymore. I feel like with Salah, he's got that loyalty to Klopp. So what a lot of the players will be doing now is seeing how Arnie Slot manages the playing style, the formation that he plays. Are they going to get players? Are they going to get the minutes? So yeah, there's a lot to think about. But I think the standout player next year, and this might surprise you, Alex McAllister is absolutely amazing. I remember just watching him God's last season and seeing him at Brighton, and I was like surreal, like seeing how amazing he was, and I feel like he was such a good set for Liverpool. And when I look at how he's been doing this season, the goals that he scored, he's been so consistent, hardly ever injured. He's built that kind of midfield. We used to have Thiago, and
Yeah.
it slowed down the game a lot because he's so much older. He's magic on the ball, but he's always injured. We need reliable players, and I think that's what's really stood out for me. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think Cody Gakpo is another one. Dutch player, a lot of the Dutch he might bring them through on his slot. But I would say, in a sense, for a signing, I don't know who will be suitable in this team at the minute. I really do. There's been expectations of Anthony Gordon. I don't think he's suitable for Liverpool. I'm really not gonna lie. He's come from Everton, was quite a long time there. He's come to Newcastle. He's only been there a short time. Is he going to be one of them players that just hops to every single team? We don't need that at Liverpool. We really don't. Um, Maybe only start bringing some of his players over. That could be a standout thing. Um, Edison would be an amazing person to bring over. I would love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he'd be really good. But what is quite concerning for me is who's going to leave next season. That's one thing.
Hmm.
Oh,
Right.
and also the coaching staff that have gone. The coaching staff are amazing at Liverpool. A really solid team that
Hmm.
made footballers into legends. You know, you got to talk about John, who was the help of Allison and Keller and Adrian. But the thing is, with Keller, he's
I'll interrupt you once. He is also scheduled to come on the podcast at the end of the month.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, amazing!
yeah,
That's so
yeah,
so good. But
yeah.
that's what's so exciting. But Keller is a young lad, and you know he has the potential to play for the first team. He's that unbelievable. So it is so hard. I want to see Darwin Nunes. I see a lot of criticism about him. I think he's amazing. Like he
Yeah.
scored 18 goals last season. He's below Salah and he's 24 years old and he's
Mm.
just scored a hat trick for Uruguay. And it's a confidence issue for him. When he's scoring and scoring, and then he's missed the goals or he's been offside. That's when his confidence goes down. Then so all we need to do is cheer him on and support him.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think it's been a very different kind of an episode in terms of having someone covering football, and of course, Anukash has mentioned at such a young age you're gonna turn 21. You mentioned in a week, in a couple of weeks. When does it
Oh,
happen?
sorry, not a week. 27th, when's that? Let's have a look.
20.
Oh,
It's Thursday.
16 days,
I
yeah.
have no, I have noted it down. I'll make sure that we, wish
Do
you,
wish
and
you.
we put out a story for you from our
Yeah,
I'm
official
getting
page.
absolutely.
old, guys. I'm getting old.
Yeah. Oh, please, let's not get there. We'll get
Should
there later.
we release the Should we release the episode on 27th only, if you want? Because since your birthday is coming that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do it that way as
Huh?
well. Yeah, absolutely. But thank you, Grace, for coming over. I think it was really nice to have someone like you who shares similar passions around the sport, following the sport, speaking to people, asking questions to people. And I'm not sure about Anukash, but there have been times when people have come up and told me that I ask way too many questions, hence the podcast. You
It's
know,
part of
No,
being a journalist. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you, Grace. We will surely keep in touch with you. We hope to have you around in many of our other platforms. We keep having some discussions on our Instagram, on our YouTube,
Yeah.
and different areas. And of course, it's just great to have you around. And thank you for your time. And we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
yeah,
Good night,
just
everyone.